Ergonomics is the center of every good workplace. Explore how that means more than just your keyboard as experts examine health, safety, and deficiencies on the job. You're listening to Work Factors on Texas A&M Health Talk. All right, everybody, welcome back to Work Factors. We are episode 3. I am your, let's go with Eternal. That seems to be a good, a lot of behind the scenes. So if you don't know the joke about Eternal, go back and listen to episode 1. I'm Adam Pickens, your host, and with me as always, Martha Parker.
Yep, co-host. Howdy, y'all.
Co-host who is uncomfortable with awkward silence.
100%.
And
Ask my husband.
We
I will feel it.
were just talking about that. That is what makes her such a great co-host, is the uncomfortableness with the awkward silence.
That is correct.
Because some of us, not naming names or pointing fingers, are completely fine in living in a world of awkward silence.
That's right. And who is that giggling over there?
I don't know. That could be our guest for the day, Mr. Dennis Johnson.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
I feel like I've seen you a lot today.
You could.
Yeah, I just finished a lecture in Dennis's class. So, you want to tell us about the class? No. So we'll do a brief introduction. So we gave just some backstory here for y'all. So Dennis is our executive in residence in the Environment and Occupational Health Department. Dennis likes notes and lists and things like that. So Martha and I, as the good hosts that we are, gave Dennis a few talking points. But now we're just lobbing things at him willy-nilly. So
we're trying to create that awkward silence.
That's right. We're trying to see how uncomfortable Martha is with the awkward silence. So now that everybody knows that you are our executive in residence, you want to give us a little background? Because today you are here to talk to us about safety leadership.
Okay.
Right?
But how did you get here?
And that's
really what
how
we
did
want
you
to know.
get here?
I mean, we know you drove over in your car, but I mean, besides that.
Well, that's inaccurate. It's a truck.
It's a truck.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I've been in the safety and industrial hygiene field for the last 35 years.
Wait, are you 35 years old?
Just barely.
Okay.
And I came to Texas A&M about 4 years ago. First came to know about the Texas A&M School of Public Health when I worked for an energy company and came here to recruit safety and health students. So through that relationship, and after I'd left that energy company, I had the privilege to be able to come and work with yourself and Dr. Benden and others. So
your official title is executive in residence. I've mentioned that you've got a class.
How does that feel, executive in residence? It sounds pretty awesome.
It sounds better than mine and your title, that's for sure.
It sort of goes with the pay.
All right, then. I don't know if that's a dig at me or a propping himself up there. I don't know. So let me ask you this. What does an executive in residence do at Texas A&M?
Well, I get the privilege of working with our students along with yourself. We get to help them understand what it's like to work in the safety and health field, work in an industry. And we also get the opportunity to help them understand what some of the new issues that are coming forward in that field. But we also get to help them introduce themselves to employers and hopefully be able to find internships or jobs afterward.
So I think you brought up an interesting point there. You, back in your time in industry, you were a member, but now you are kind of heading the academic side of our industrial advisory board.
That's true.
Yes. And I think that's one of the most valuable things you bring to the table, Dennis, is your relationship experience within the industry and how you know how small, medium, and large companies work because of your experience. And so you're able to reach out on Texas A&M's behalf and say, wow, we have great students and here's the program. And you're able to kind of speak both languages. I think that's really valuable.
Well, it is. And you know, we started this industry advisory board about 10 plus years ago. At the beginning, it was just a handful of people. And we wanted to come together and start figuring out how we might be able to use the curriculum here at Texas A&M to be able to develop students and it's really done very well over the last 10 years.
Yeah, overall, I would agree. I think, without this becoming a commercial for the EOH department, I think we've done really well. And so I think one of the things that Martha brought up was, you worked in a number of different companies in the energy field. So we've brought you on today not just for your amazing title or your
Extra large paycheck.
extra large paycheck. Let's say that. But because you have been at a number of different organizations that operate very differently, the topic of the day is safety leadership. In your experience, because you've been both a leader and a follower. I talk to you all the time about this, and talk to you about coworkers, and I don't know the right term anymore. Your workers. What's
Employees.
Employees. That's it. Good gracious, golly! I seriously sometimes I'm not 50 years old, but I've got my mind. Goodness, your employees in those organizations as your role changed. What were some of the things that you saw that helped you understand what a good leader needed to be in safety?
That's a great question. Over the course of my experience in industry, I've worked for people that were good managers but weren't great leaders. I've also worked for people that were great leaders and maybe not such great managers. I think the ones that you remember the most are the ones that were inspirational. They also gave you tons of support. They didn't require reporting in like most managers do, but it was more of a support given to you by their confidence in what you could do.
So I think that's an important distinction between a leader and a manager. And I correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, y'all, again, we've all worked at different organizations in different capacities, but my experience tells me a manager gets the daily task done. A manager worries about the details. The leader has the vision, and the leader inspires people. Is that, would y'all agree with that, or how would you amend that?
I think that's pretty fair. Though the one thing I would add about maybe a part of a manager that makes a good leader is the trust but verify, which I think is what Dennis was saying was, you've got to have trust in your employees to go out and do their jobs without micromanaging them. But at the same time, you've got to have enough knowledge and skill set to go behind them every once in a while and go, is that right? Is that wrong? So that's the only thing I might add to that.
Yeah, I think so.
The other thing I'd add is you also worked with people that may not have had a management role, but they were leaders themselves. They weren't in a management role, but they were leaders. And you saw that by the way they behaved, the way you interact with them. I remember a guy I worked with, his name was Bob, and he was a safety guy. And oftentimes, if you drove by his house on weekends, he'd be out mowing the yard. Well, when I mowed the yard, I'd have on shorts, I'd wear safety glasses, but I wouldn't wear much else. But Bob, every time you saw him, had on.
Yeah, much other safety gear?
Yeah.
Okay, let's make
Please
sure.
tell me you had a shirt on.
Let's not get into the details.
Yeah,
let's just
not-
stick to safety gear.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Help me follow this
Focus
trend. But Bob always had on, long sleeve shirts, long pants, steel-toed shoes, and safety glasses. If he's weed eating, he's wearing a face shield because he truly believed in what he was practicing at work or what he was saying for others to do at work. But you could see others in our department that weren't that committed to wearing the personal protective equipment. So that's a good example of how he as an individual demonstrated his leadership to others that were around him just by practicing and instituting in his daily life things that we tried to practice on the job.
Well, I think that's important to one word that you said there. It was all great, but one of the words that you said there was commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Every study that we ever read coming out about successful leadership and successful safety programs it's got to have a commitment to it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's hard to have a bottom-up driven safety program that's entirely successful without the commitment of the management,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're shaking your head.
I agree.
Yeah.
Look at that uncomfortable silence.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of a management commitment, you know, let's just take Bob, for example. Bob is a safety professional. It's also been my experience, and I'd like to hear your feedback on this. Sometimes leadership can come from a non-managerial or a
Role.
non-C-suite role.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's
From an individual
any
contributor.
individual contributor.
Right.
Yeah. So can you talk to that a little bit? I mean, some of the impact that you've seen from maybe not a manager or supervisor or something that's actually a leader in the safety field, but, you know, maybe a peer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody that took it in their heart, not on their job title.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Bob was a great example of that. He was an individual contributor, just like the rest of us at the time, and that's, you know, that was at a time when you spent a lot more time focusing on programmatic approaches to safety than trying to do it the way we do today.
Mm-hmm.
But Bob just had that sense of commitment. He had that sense that he practiced everything that he had learned as he went through school, as he'd gone through their everyday work environment. He was familiar how people were injured on the job, and he took that and he internalized that, and knew that he needed to be able to practice it at home, what he was in a way preaching at work. And so it had to do more with I'd call it a personal commitment, a personal passion that he had for safety.
Do you think the ability to intervene is important in a safety leader?
It is, because you know, when you look at in a organizational structure where you've got all different levels of employees, it's necessary for those that are higher in that organization to be able to show their commitment to safety. And you can't. So oftentimes you can't show that commitment unless there is some level of intervention, where they see that something's going wrong, or they see that people aren't being committed to what you're trying to do, and it requires their intervention. It requires their involvement to say how important something is.
One of the questions that we had talked about was, you know, leadership as a role versus leadership as a commitment. And you worked at multiple different sized organizations. How is leadership different in a big multinational organization, at least in your experience, versus maybe a smaller one? I mean, is it easier to lead? Is it easier to show commitment? Is it, I mean, how much of the culture of a big organization is, you know, it's like a freight train, it's just moving along, it's hard to change, versus, you know, really being able to make a personal impact at a smaller organization?
And what is your preference based on your experience? Did you prefer like having a major impact pretty quickly in a smaller organization, even if that smaller organization is within a big multinational corporation, versus having a role or being a leader that was of a very large group where you were kind of driven on the train instead of being able to affect it?
That's a great question. It's to me, and you could probably find articles written on the traits of leaders, safety leaders, and other types of leaders. I guess what I would say to that is that it's more of it's an individual trait. It's a passion that they have that they're able to demonstrate in their day-to-day job. If you work for a small company that whether they're producing widgets or they're producing...
See, it's a widget.
It's a widget.
Dennis knows the
Thank
widgets.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've had this discussion with students.
Yeah.
And students don't know what widgets are.
Thanks.
So thank
Highly
you for that.
technical term.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But when you work in a small organization that may have more pressures on them to perform, pressures on them to sell their product, you may not have, individuals in the organization may not have the space to be able to develop their internal traits to be a leader. Some, it comes very natural. But I think there's others that they actually have to spend a lot of time and effort to explore their leadership capability. I think there's some, though, like managers. There's some that are extremely great managers because they're able to perform their role as a manager very well. But it's hard for them to share what their vision is for that team. So is it harder in a smaller company over larger? To me, it's really about the people that you're working with. It's the people that migrate or are hired by those companies that somewhat take on a personality similar to that company. And so I've worked with small companies, yes, that had great leaders, and I've also worked for larger companies that had great leaders. The advantage with a larger company is that there may be a little bit, I don't want to say freedom, but there may be a little bit more space in someone's day-to-day activity or in the team that they're working with to be able to develop their leadership traits.
Well, yeah, and in those, especially in those really large organizations, they have management or leadership training courses and classes and paths that as you move up into an organization, they will help you develop those skills and develop the ability to ignite the passion for being a leader, whereas those opportunities may not exist for leaders or managers in a smaller type organization.
Right.
Well, I think that's where you need to seek it out yourself. You know, I mean, as I'm sitting across from y'all are very different. And yeah, it's shocking, I know. It's a revelation to both of y'all.
What's different?
We can talk about that later. That can be an offline discussion. I don't know if y'all have recognized that. So, but y'all are very different. And I think one of the things is y'all have both been leaders, but your leadership traits are very different. And you've cultivated them in probably very different ways. You know, I would be very interested to hear from both of y'all. I mean, you've turned from co-host into co-participant.
Interviewee.
Yeah. So, Dennis, I'd like to start with you. So, you personally, I mean, we can talk. Everybody's got their own traits, and you can take the Myers-Briggs, and you can evaluate your own self. You know, I've taken it. I'm a INTJ architect. I don't know what that means, but that's what I am.
That's your personality trait.
Yeah, and so you cultivate your leadership based upon your personality traits as much as you possibly can, because that helps you know what your strengths are. With all that aside, for you personally, you're a bit more reserved. For somebody who might be similar to you, so just your personal experience, as somebody who might be a little more reserved, how did you recognize the traits that you needed to develop to become a good leader? Because I know a bit of your work background. You moved up both from your technical acumen, but you moved up in leadership roles as well. So how did you go about identifying, and what were some of the strengths that you really wanted to cultivate? Martha, you can be thinking about this while Dennis is going.
It's a good thing that you cut this part out.
Yeah. No, we leave it all in.
Okay.
Yeah. We go pretty uncut on work factors. See, name drop right there
Good job.
again. Ba-boom.
Texas A&M Health Talk.
I think as you gain experience, as you work with different people on your team, as you develop the experience you need to be able to perform in your career, I think you see how others behave, how they perform in their daily work life, and I think you start to emulate what you're seeing in others that you have identified as someone you want to be like. So it's not something like, oh, I think I'll be a leader tomorrow and I'm going to go take a class. It's something by working with people and getting familiar with them and seeing how they are able to lead or describe a vision or get people behind them, and you try to start emulating that. You also see those examples that you sit back and you know, I've worked with people that were pretty hard-nosed, pretty opinionated.
And that's not you?
Well, to a different degree.
Okay.
Opinionated in a way that no matter what you did, it was wrong.
Mm.
Or no matter how you did it, it wasn't the way they wanted it done. And those people you learned, you know, you saw real quick that they were in a little box and you didn't want to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, to me, it was more of seeing how others conducted themselves, seeing how others were able to build relationships with others. And it was like, I want to be like that.
You know, it's funny that you bring that up because my immediate leader is Mark Benden. He's my department chair. I'm sure Mark will be on a podcast eventually, but he's in high demand for many podcasts, apparently. You know, one of the things I've identified in Mark is he genuinely cares about everybody that he's around. And it's harder for me to do that, but I see the value in it. You know, so I'm trying to be more caring.
The kinder, gentler Adam?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, kinder, gentler Adam. You know, God bless him. Mark will know everything about every student by the time they graduate. And I can mostly tell you their names. It's not that I don't care about them, but that quality of investing in the people around you is something that I've identified that is exceedingly valuable for me as a faculty member. And I'm working to try to better emulate that. You know, I would hope that the students today would say they see me investing in them more than the students did 5 years ago.
Well, I agree. I guess one thing I'd say is that you would never be accused of not caring about people. You just may not show it as visibly as others.
Well, okay,
100%.
that's true. Okay,
That is
that's
absolutely
true.
true.
Yeah,
And-
that's probably true.
And as you said,
You hold your cards real close.
Real close to the vest. That's right.
yeah, it doesn't mean that you don't care. It just means that you are maybe a little bit more incremental in how you react to people.
Yes. Yes, I'm a bit more measured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dennis, you were the same way.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I know, shocking. We're very different that way, but you are kind and gentle as well. But that is not how you come across at all at the very beginning.
Oh, I know, but that's
Yeah.
because I'm shy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you get to know you, and you're like, oh, he's so great.
Edit.
So, Martha, same question to you. So,
Okay, so I got it.
yeah,
I'm ready.
Hit it.
So I believe that anybody can be a leader if they want to, and I think that's where the passion comes in that you talked about, Dennis. I was thrown into a leadership role pretty early on in my career, and I understood innately, I think, in the value of relationships. And so I can find something in common with anybody, and that kind of puts us on an even keel, and that makes what I did as an ergonomist easier for people to stomach sometimes when I would come in and I looked like I was evaluating them and kind of judging them and figuring out, how to make it easier and better and faster and more comfortable. And it was difficult sometimes when people thought that I was the quote expert, but if I had established the relationship with that person, it made it so much easier on both of our parts, because it's easy to help somebody that you care about, and it's easy to help somebody that you have a relationship with. It's difficult if you go in there and try to, just vomit stuff on them, and they don't.
Ergo.
Yeah, they're
Safety.
like, what? I don't understand, and you're not helping me. So I know that that's a strength of mine, is that relationship building, and so I do take time. I can't say I'm as good as Dr. Benden. I mean. But I do take time to get to know people.
Mark,
and
if you listen to this,
understand
we're
them.
singing your praises, so
Yes.
remember that when it comes to annual evals.
That's right. But I know my weakness is I also have the ability to run over people. right? Because I'm a decision maker. I want to get things done, and I want to get done quickly. And I don't need you, lollygagging around. We're just going to get this done. And I've really had to work over the years in being a better listener, and that has helped me develop better relationships with people so that I don't run over and go so fast and leave everybody in the dirt.
I always tell my son we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we talk.
That is correct.
And
my father told me the same thing.
yeah, some of us
Yeah.
have a hard time with
You
it.
should
and some of
think
us,
before you speak.
yeah.
I'm however many years old, and I'm still learning that every day.
It's okay. It's the identified area of opportunity.
It is.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we'd like to finish up on here is, we've talked about traits and we talked about all that stuff and how to be a leader in different roles. Talk a little bit about the identification of your own weaknesses, because I think for most people, it's uncomfortable to recognize what you are deficient in. And I've had great leaders that I've been associated with that lead out of weakness. They're able to surround themselves with people who are really good at the areas that they are deficient in. And I don't know if that's been y'all's experience, but it has been mine from time to time. I mean, some people lead out front only in their strengths, but I think the recognition of weakness is also a key factor in being a good leader, because I think any leader at any field isn't going to be good at everything. Wow.
Well,
it is such a great question. I have literally got everybody around me stunned. Or were you trying to say, where's the question in that?
I was thinking about really where was that question to get lost in the.
So I forget who my guest is today. Okay, Dennis, let me rephrase this as a question. In thinking about identification of your weaknesses as a leader, how important is it to be able to know where you need help?
That's a really good question.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
I can think of the team that I work with now. We all
This is going to hit a little close to home. I
It
feel.
I was like, oh God.
we all sort of work off each other.
Mhm.
Like you said,
Agreed.
Some have strengths that others don't. I am slow to get slow.
Slow to get the words out?
Yeah.
Okay.
I may take more time in assessing a situation before I respond.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the way I am. But that doesn't mean that others around me may not be responding quicker, or say if we're trying to deal with an issue, that time for me to assess that may help me to overcome whatever the weakness I may have in responding quickly. So what I'm trying to say is that we benefit by working around those that have other types of skills and traits and behaviors to
a little
help,
diversity.
to help you see how maybe you need to do something different.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's funny that you bring up our team. We are very diverse in our diversity of thought and diversity of capacity. I would say I'm very much more like you. It takes me a long time to sit there and in a meeting digest the information that's being presented to me to be able to formulate what I feel is an appropriate, accurate response. Mm-hmm. But we sit in meetings all the time and people will just rapid fire off their thoughts. And some of them,
Why you keep looking at me?
I'm just saying, it's differences in people, and it's not just you. Oh wait, I did say it was you.
You did. It's okay.
It's.
I'm clear.
Okay, so I think that identification of the fact that you and I may be, and it's not a weakness. It's just a difference.
It's different.
It's different style.
It's different styles,
it's
different
different style.
communication style, different thought process. Just because I'm not saying something doesn't mean I'm not actively trying to formulate what I feel is a good response. It just may take me a little bit longer.
So I would give us a little visual on that. Like you're driving a go-kart,
I love go-karts.
right? I know.
I had a go-kart as a kid.
So you're in a go-kart and you're at a go-kart track
Pennzoil.
and it has the bumpers on the side, right? The metal bumpers.
Yes.
I am the go-kart driver that just goes like hit the gas and you hit the bumper and then you bounce off and you go this way and you bounce off and you go this way. You guys are like, I'm going to stay in the middle of the lane and I'm just going to be real measured about the way I do things. We're both going to finish.
Yeah.
We're both going to get there. I'm just going to be a little more jarred.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to pass you when you run into the curve.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
When
you
I
know,
cut it too short.
I think that's a great analogy because it's less about recognition of self and more about recognition of your teammates and who you're working with. You know, I think a good leader needs to recognize the different components that they have on their team. You know, if let's just keep going back to Mark, you know,
And he's not even here.
and
to
he's not
defend
even here,
himself.
but it doesn't matter. I think he's probably
no bonus for Adam.
yeah, I think he's probably very keenly aware of the different personality traits on Ergo Center staff or faculty in the department and things like that. And you know, sometimes he might need to talk to somebody not in a faculty meeting because maybe that person's not going to respond well.
Well, you always have your go-to people, right?
Right.
You may go to some people because they have a lot more technical background in a subject.
Mm-hmm.
You may go to others because you may like the ideas they generate off a small amount of information.
Mm.
So you have go-to people. The key is that you're surrounded with people that can help you accomplish what your overall mission is.
Right. And that's I think that's a great quality of a leader is to be able to surround
that,
and
yeah.
communicate the vision, surround yourself with people who can accomplish that vision through the different strengths that they have.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the good leaders are not going to be afraid of those that they have around them that they may displace them.
Right.
They're going to work jointly with them to help further what their mission is.
Mm-hmm.
A rising tide
That's
lifts
right.
all the ships.
That's right. Absolutely. I've said that recently in a meeting. Rising tide raises all ships. We are Texas A&M. We want to be great at everything.
Everything.
That's right.
So just as a little bit of background for Mr. Johnson, he did not go to Texas A&M. Where did you go to get your bachelor's degree? There,
A
Dennis?
small school in western Oklahoma called Southwestern Oklahoma State.
Okay. And then where did you continue your education?
I went to the University of Oklahoma Health Science Center for my master's in public health
Great.
many years ago. At that time, there were only 11 schools of public health, and I was never a boomer sooner. Having been raised in Oklahoma, I favored a different school that existed in the state.
The broader shade of orange.
And I often said I went to the University of Oklahoma. You do cut this out, I hope. More because there was an available school than because I wanted to go to the University of Oklahoma.
Available school.
It was an available school.
school.
I can totally appreciate that. I'm fighting Texas Aggie class of '99. I've got 2 degrees from A&M, but I got my doctorate at Texas Tech. And at my wedding, at the wedding reception, a man walked up to me and he said, "Hi, I'm a Red Raider." He's like, "I hear you go to Texas Tech." And he wanted to talk to me about being a Red Raider. And he's like, "Are you a Red Raider?" I loved going to Texas Tech. I loved my experience on the South Plains, but I'm not a Red Raider because of it. And I said, no, I'm an Aggie. I'm fighting Texas Aggie class of '99. And the photographer was watching us. I've got a picture in my wedding album of the moment I crushed that man's spirit because that was like the one thing that we had in common. And the photographer snapped it right at that moment where you kind of saw him wilt a little bit. And my wife teases me about that all the time. There's nothing. You got a great education at the University of Oklahoma.
I did, and I enjoyed
I got a great education at Texas Tech, and I enjoyed my time there.
Right.
But now now you're giving back to the students at Texas A&M University. And I will say, even though I know that we all bleed maroon because, you slice open, it's kind of that color, but you really do embody the spirit of being an Aggie, even though you're not technically one. And it's a pleasure to work with you.
Well, thank you. It's been a great experience having come to Texas A&M about 10 or 12 years ago to recruit our first students, having not any knowledge about what A&M was. My youngest son came here, and I got to learn more about what the A&M is about, and it's been great working here. Sort of catches you up in what goes on here at the university.
Yeah.
And it's a great place.
I would definitely say, think about strengths and weaknesses. As far as the strength, core values, definitely Dennis embodies selfless service. He's executive in residence.
Yep.
He does all the things with all the different companies, but he's also teaching a class, and he also works with the Ergo Center, and he works on curriculum stuff. Definitely selfless service.
And students are always in his office.
Yep.
Can you write me this letter of recommendation? Can you read my resume? Can you make sure I'm doing this right? And you're incredibly responsive, and they are very appreciative.
Dennis, how uncomfortable is this making you?
Pretty uncomfortable.
There it is. All right, on that note, I think we're going to end. I think we've got some good topics for the day, and thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you on the next episode. Dennis, thank you for participating.
Thanks for having me here.
All right, everybody, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you for joining us on Texas A&M Health Talk, a production of the Texas A&M University Health Science Center. Visit us on the web at vitalrecord.tamhsc.edu, where you'll find answers to all of your health questions. Until next time, stay healthy.